Rick with an Herbal 411 highlight. Today's talk is going to be on walking sticks. I have two different types of walking sticks. Both of them have cork heads. Cork is a little bit better when you start sweating. You can still grab it. And this one is telescopic, twist and extend or shorten. There's a spring inside this that takes a little bit of the abuse out of your arms. And this is just lever action. So you click the lever, shorten it or lengthen it, and lock it in place. If you're using walking as your entry level into exercise, then I think that's fair. It's an easy activity. You can do it anywhere. You don't have to belong to a gym. And you don't need any training for that. However, the human body, the cardiovascular system, the musculoskeletal system adapts very well to walking. That's why runners have to constantly find more input to throw into their training because they become too efficient. You can have this perceived exertion, shortness of breath, sweatiness. After a while, that will still occur if you get to a high enough heart rate, but your basal metabolic rate will adapt. The pain that you're inducing or the trauma that you're inducing with walking and running will become more efficient. Ultimately, if you're just counting calories in, calories out, you eventually will hit your goal and maintain your goal, but your body will actually fool you because the goal that you set will be different as you become adapted to the activities that you're doing. With walking in Illinois, we have a flat state for the most part. This is Mount Hoy. Down there is about 700 to 800 feet. It's a pretty decent incline at 35 degrees. You can probably clear this depending on your level of training in about a minute to 5 minutes, and eventually you'll get to the point where you can run up this hill. The reason I wear this 40-pound vest is because I need more resistance, especially if I'm going to be taking people to Colorado. Colorado, the incline is 30 to 45 degrees for about 3 to 5 hours. If you combine that with the higher altitude and decreased oxygen, if I don't increase my variables to give me more stress with training, my legs and my cardiovascular system will be toast within about half an hour of leaving the trailhead. So what kind of a guide would I be if I just take people to about half hour from the trailhead and say, okay, you're on your own? This is why I think it's important to embrace goals, because if you just train on your own without any inspiration to hit a different summit every time you age or every time you hit a season, every time you hit a different year, then you get too stagnant. With stagnation and age, even if you're doing some pretty decent walking, an hour to 2 hours a day, I think that won't serve you in the long run if you're using that kind of activity to beat the diseases that usually come as you age. So full disclosure, please go see your doctor first before you start training, especially if you have medical conditions. And if your doctor doesn't really know what to do, you can consult me on my Herbal 411 webpage. So with regards to walking sticks, as you're heading up an elevation, you shorten it so your arm stays at 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. As you're using your walking sticks, I like to use them in tandem, meaning if the left leg goes first, then the right leg assists. Right leg goes first, left leg assists. Especially as we're traversing sketchy ground, water crossing, scrambling on scree. I think it's important to have 3 points of stability, that way you don't fall. On one of my excursions, I trusted that my clients were using their walking sticks while they were training before the event. When you're not used to planting walking sticks, sometimes what happens is the reflex hold the stick up as you do a water crossing occurs. One of my hikers did the same thing, held up, slipped on a rock and fell forward, saving her walking sticks in her camera, but she hit face first. Thank God she didn't break a tooth. But that's why it has to be instinctual when you're going out with me hiking. You don't have to go with me on an excursion to a national park. The concept for me to suggest my clients and patients use walking sticks is instead of just using your arms and getting out and doing some cardio with regards to walking, and trust me, if you're going to use walking as your cardio, you really have to walk fast or use some kind of resistance. You also throw in the upper body with dynamic swinging and impact. If you heard me coming up, you can see how I over-exaggerate the walking stick strike when I'm hitting the ground. To me, that's more of neuromuscular facilitation to know that I'm going to be attacking a hill and we're going up a little bit of a crux of movement. But you don't have to hit them that hard, and it might be jarring to your arms. Just getting used to placing and having 4 points of contact would be important, especially when the weather becomes inclement. One of my vice principals took my advice, did some walking, loved it, but unfortunately winter in Chicago comes and sometimes that little bit of haze or fog can freeze up, and he slipped on the sidewalk and pulverized one side of his body. But hopefully he's doing okay and still exercising and still walking. The proper way to handle your stick is you come through the loop, grab the side, and choke down on the handle this way. If you lose it or fall, you'll always have a hold of this, especially if you're on an incline, on a small path, or crossing water. Another way to use your walking sticks is like a cross-country skier. When they use their walking sticks, they're using their sticks to propel forward. That's not the way I want you guys to use your sticks. I'd rather have you use it for points of stability in addition to proprioception. You can actually use a stick for proprioception and also training the upper body to be coordinated with the lower body. One final point I'll mention is that when you have your walking stick strike the ground, it should always be at about 90 degrees, depending on if you're going up or downhill. So in this case, this is about 90 degrees. I've shortened this stick. If I was to use this going flat, it would be too low. And it sometimes puts a little bit too much pressure on the flexor tendons or the extensor tendons. So a good rule of thumb is when you're going uphill, shorten your stick so that your arm stays at 90 degrees at the elbow. When you're going downhill, you can lengthen your stick again so that the elbow stays at 90 degrees. Unless you're going downhill on unstable ground or scree, then you use your stick as a feeler, like a sighted individual, where you take your stick place and then you step, take your stick place and step. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments down below, or if you have a great hiking stick that you have used for years, I'd like to hear about it. Don't forget to go over to my YouTube channel and like and subscribe because it helps the channel. Wherever you are in the world, exercise, get out to nature, eat right, and stay healthy. I'll see you at the next video.